Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
And today we're taking a look at an expansion for a game called Walk and Roll called The Korean Wave.
Ooh.
Which, I don't know that the Korean Wave's even a thing. Is that?
I don't know. I don't know where that comes
That's
from.
the Korean Wave. I don't know. So anyway, Walk and Roll. And so we're assuming if you're watching this, you already know how to play Walk and Roll.
Sure.
It is a roll and write game about making Chinese food. Well, the Korean Wave, hear me out.
Tastes even better.
This adds Korean food. It also adds art. Wendy's going to show you.
Walk and Roll, The Korean Wave is a roll and write expansion to the basic roll and write game, Walk and Roll. There's some similarities and some differences. You do have a two-sided board over here. So this is the modern menu, and then you have the traditional menu. You also have these dice as normal. You're going to roll them up to 3 times on your turn, saving and banking any dice that you want to as you go throughout. Then the active player will get to use all of the dice to fulfill dishes and plates, whereas the inactive player can only use the white dice. Some of the things added on these boards from the basic game, it does add kimchi, it adds some new skills. Instead of fulfilling rows and columns to get bonuses, you can get bonuses immediately when you complete certain plates. There is a first-time bonus for completing an entire dish in a region, the first person to do that. And then also the game ends after 4 dishes are complete instead of 3. Let's take a look at this traditional menu. Over here, you start with one of each good in your pantry. It's a little bit easier to get stuff in your pantry because there are ways to save menus. You get these from completing instant bonuses by completing plates. You also can store the kimchi that you gain, and you can spend that kimchi for skill upgrades and then for more expensive or higher victory point dishes. The skills over here, instead of having endgame victory points, these let you gain additional items every single round of the game. This lets you use the red die on someone else's turn, or at least one of the red die. Yes, one of the red dice on each one of the turns. And then these just give you bonus foods every single time that you play. And then you have these basic dishes over here, which I explained. You have the first time dish complete bonus, and then you have just some different recipes and some instant bonuses as well. Now let's talk about the modern side of the board. The modern side of the board, you do not start with specific pantry items. Instead, you roll dice, everyone individually at the beginning of the game to see what items you start with. And it's a little bit easier to add stuff to your pantry. You're not collecting menus, but instead you're only needing one menu and an unused food die to be able to add that item to your pantry. If you ever have more items than you can fit of a particular type, you then bring it over to the overstock board and you just check these off for additional points or additional skills. There's still kimchi, and there are very few ways to save menus throughout the game. Now this skills track over here, this is a cool little tech tree that you have going on. You can spend 2 kimchi or 2 menus and a single kimchi to gain rewards on this, but also any icon throughout the game that has this little double knife thing going on. As you gain the tech tree, you're going to go ahead and draw lines. The very first thing that you can get is a pantry upgrade. So that's just one of these items. I'm sorry, not upgrade, but just a pantry item. Then you'll be getting points. You'll be getting these skills where you get those foods every round. And then finally some endgame scoring options. So there's some really cool stuff going on with this tech tree. Let's take a look at these dishes over here. We've got tteokbokki, gimbap, kimchi fried rice, bibimbap, all just really fun Korean foods that are exciting. But as you fulfill them, instead of getting menus or instead of getting those column bonuses, you get pantry items. So these pantry items here go directly into that pantry for future use. So there's a lot more of that comboing going on of I take this action, which gives me this, which lets me complete more dishes. You can use those immediately. So if you have stuff, a dish that's not quite complete on the dice, you can then add these additional pantry items that you get on that turn to complete more dishes. So that is Walk and Roll, the Korean Wave. Once again, after you complete your 4 dishes, you're going to count up all of your points. You gain points by these overstock items here. You gain points from the skill tree and gain point multipliers also from the skill tree. And then any points that you've marked off on the dishes and any first place bonuses that you've received, except on this side, the first place bonuses, not first place, but the first to complete bonuses are skill upgrades.
So one of the things I like about the game, and it might seem like a minor thing, but the art is a really big difference. And it's colorful art. I mean, when I look at these pictures on here, I have eaten every dish in here, and they're all delicious. And I want to, Yeah, I have.
I have not tried all of them. I've tried a lot of them.
I should say they're all delicious. I don't like the seafood kimchi pancakes, but my kids like them.
I really like tteokbokki. That's one of my favorites. And japchae.
Tteokbokki is good. But here's the thing, folks. This colorful, I mean, it's colorful, the pictures, it adds something to the game. To me, you're making food. In the original one, it just told you the food you're making. Here,
Sure.
showing a little picture, as silly as it is, helps add to the theme.
You know what really adds for me is instead of getting the bonuses on the columns and the rows when you fill up all the dishes, you get the bonuses immediately on some of the plates. But then you don't get points for those. But I feel like it adds more of that roll and write feel of I get something else when I do something.
I agree, and I really like the addition of the kimchi ingredient. So you're doing some dishes just to get kimchi, which you then can use to get bonuses, or to make really expensive dishes. And also, I really like kimchi. But I like that concept. And in fact, I like the mechanisms of this one better than pretty much every part of the original game.
I feel like the original game is just very basic.
Which is fine.
Which is fine, but it's for my particular taste, I want a little bit more out of my roll and writes. And so I feel like this is a better level. If this was what it started with, I would be completely happy.
Yeah, again, I like the first one, but this adds the ability to pick a technology, essentially, or a skill. It starts with the pantry. The original one had pantry, was in the upgraded part of the game. But I like, man, and you said you like, is this the side that you like better, the modern menu?
Yeah, I like the modern menu. It's a little bit more complicated, but I don't think it's too much.
It isn't. I think I like the other side, the traditional menu, but that's because I'm a traditionalist.
Oh, of course.
I don't care one way or the other.
Do you bring a rice cooker with you on vacation?
No, we don't.
My
No.
uncle-in-law does.
Really?
Yeah.
No. But I know people who have. So for me, this expansion, I like the Korean. That's just a personal thing, the Korean flavor of it. I like the pictures and everything and that. But I also like the mechanisms. I feel like there's more diversity. Everyone's picking different things to do. And a game that you mentioned a lot that people like, Ganchan Clever. So if you've not heard of it, there's Ganchan Clever, Twice as Clever. Or it's called That's So Clever. Sorry, That's So Clever, Twice as Clever, Clever Cube. They're all the same game, but just
They
different
make me
ways
feel
of scoring.
clever.
And in those games, a roll and write game, you roll dice, you're going to mark off boxes, but when you get to one box, you can then fill another box. And then there's crisscrossing of that. This is a lot of that same thing.
Especially the modern side. The
Yes.
modern Korean food side, as you're getting those ingredients, you can use them to fulfill other dishes that same round.
But it does so in a more thematic way, and that matters to me. It matters to me. It makes sense that this dish, this vegetarian kimchi is a dish that gives you kimchi that you can then use in budae kimchi, which is the army stew called here, which uses kimchi. That makes sense. And I like that concept. I also like the fact that you can go for big point scoring stuff or a bunch of small points. It's probably not as good of a solid game numerically, but the theming helps me a lot. And I think it's going to
Sure,
help
it
a
ties
lot
it
of
all
people.
together.
People like theme in games.
People like theme? What are you talking about, Tom?
Well,
Ain't
it's
nobody like theme.
it's a crazy thing, but yes, some people do.
Theme's fun. One thing that I really enjoy, you had mentioned the skills briefly, but that you can, there's that tiny bit of engine building. As you gain a skill, you can then, get an extra item each round, or you can score more. I think in the base game it's score more per round, right?
Yes.
Yeah, or like end game scoring, that's what it is. It's end game scoring, you can score more. So with this expansion, instead, you're getting more stuff. And the modern side, so the more complicated side, there's this interesting tech tree going on with the skills where, at first you can get some items and then you can get some points and then you can get some endgame scoring and then you can get some bonuses each round. And so I like tech trees. They're fun.
Tech trees are fun, and I think that works well. If you liked the original game of Walk and Roll, you're going to like this expansion.
Yes.
But it's not just another way of scoring. It actually feels like an advancement into the game to the point where I don't want to play the base game. I would have given the original game a 7. This I'm going to give an 8.5 to because I like it that much better. Again, the theming doesn't hurt, but I also think there's some really good choices to make, and it doesn't overstay its welcome, which is the same as the original game.
Right.
The fact that when there's a certain number of dishes that are done, game's over.
And it increases it by 1 with this, so it's 4 instead of 3, but there's so much more to do. I feel like that's totally fine.
I agree.
It doesn't
and
extend it too much.
getting special abilities, overstocking ingredients. There's just a lot of cool things that are not particularly egregious to remember, but it makes you feel like you're playing a more meaty game but the theme helps you, gives you that mnemonic device to remember it. So, yeah, I like it a lot.
Okay, so I didn't score the base game, but if I were to score it now, I would give it a 6 because I don't feel like it has strong legs to stand on long term. Like, I feel like I played it once. That was fun. I didn't feel a need to play it again. However, this Korean wave, I feel like there's more to explore. And so I would give it an 8 because I feel like there's some really fun stuff going on. There's that cool connection bonus of, hey, I got this. Now I can make something else with it, or I can store more. I just think that the points are more interesting. The food is more interesting. And it looks better. So I think all in all, yeah.
And you can store it in the base box with the base stuff, but you're going to have to get rid of, well, you're not going to be able to keep the menus for both games. You have to pick one. I would pick this one. And you have to get rid of the tray, which no one ever uses anyway. Well, I should say no one.
Blocks vision. Yeah, it makes it hard to see.
So anyway, that's the Korean Wave. Definitely an expansion that we both think is very good. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
And I'm Keseo.